An Iranian political activist jailed for his messages on social media has died after spending 60 days on hunger strike. His family says Wahid Sayed had been accused of insulting Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and other offenses. He was released last March after serving 2.5 years in prison but detained again 5 months later. The activist demanded his transfer from a high-security unit of a prison in the city of Qom to a different location. Wahid Sayed was initially arrested in September 2015 and sentenced to 8 years in prison for insulting the supreme leader and propaganda against the state. According to the advocacy group Iran Human Rights Monitor, the charges were related to posts he had made on his Facebook page. He was later pardoned and released early. However, he was arrested again in August, just months after his release. Reportedly on similar charges, he began his hunger strike in October, in protest at the conditions of his imprisonment and his lack of access to a lawyer. According to Iran Human Rights Monitor, he also said the principle of separation of prisoners' crimes was being violated as he was being held with ordinary criminals and was being attacked and harassed. The group said conditions in the Qom prison are described as harsh. Correspondents say the activist had reportedly been taken to hospital in the wake of his hunger strike. His sister, Ilayha, said the family had been informed by authorities of his death. No other details were immediately available. He came out from the porch of a building armed with a pistol in his hand, his arm outstretched. One eyewitness to the shooting in Strasbourg told French media she stumbled into the path of the gunman and was lucky to survive. Roger was one of many people taking in the Christmas markets with some friends when the first shots rang out. He headed towards a gentleman walking in front of me and immediately fired a bullet at his head, she told Radio Monte Carlo RMC. The man collapsed, and the guy opened fire again at someone else, who fell to the ground too, she added. Her 2 friends ran, screaming. Roger was left standing face to face with the shooter, paralyzed with fear. He turned around. I was facing him, she told the radio station. He ran off and went under another porch. Why did not he shoot at me? I do not know. I think I was extremely lucky. As everyone was screaming, he fled. Another witness named Jonathan was working as a waiter when he heard the gunfire. I thought it was our slate that had just fallen outside, he told Journey Ray's Nouvelles d'Alsace. But then, he discovered a man lying on the ground, bleeding. He quickly retreated inside and barricaded the restaurant, telling all his customers to get down. But there he discovered the injured man had not been alone and had been waiting outside for his family. The wife, who was with her son in the restaurant, was in the bathroom, and when she came out, we had to tell her that her husband was shot, he told RMC. I heard the gunfire and ran towards the shots, from what told the local Alsace website. The subject-year-old resident had been walking nearby when the attack happened, and found a man in his 50s lying wounded on the ground outside an ice cream parlor. He phoned his brother, a doctor, to ask how he could help. He explained to me that I had to compress the wound, but I could not find the bullet entry wound, said Broward. He was losing a lot of blood. A passing cyclist then stopped and told him she was a doctor and gave the man heart massage. He never saw the gunman, and the fate of the wounded man is not yet known. He ran off past a local cinema, where people were walking quietly down the street, who had not heard. He warned whoever he could. Eyewitness Peter Fritz told the BBC about a similar experience. He heard gunfire and found a person who had been shot lying on a bridge. He said he tried to resuscitate him, but the man died. There are no ambulance services able to enter the area, apparently, he said, adding, after 45 minutes we stopped the resuscitation attempt, because a doctor told us on the phone that it was pointless. In the nearby basketball stadium, sheltering residents broke into a rousing chorus of the national anthem in solidarity with the victim, something which was widely played on French television. Les spectateurs arrest confident historiens and homage aux victimes that fusillés. At the end tweets that liquid at Strasbourg. Twitter, COMYEC9E05 end of Twitter post by @sick Strasbourg. But one of the people there, Benedict, told ANC, I was not able to sleep. I was too shocked. I had too many emotions, and he went for a late night walk later instead. Another Strasbourg resident was caught up in the drama when two police snipers took over her living room from her first-floor apartment, which had heard shots and screaming, and then police banged on her door. According to Danny Reyes Nouvelles d'Alsace, he told her there was an exchange of fire with the shooter, and that he had taken refuge at number 5 Rue d'Épinal, directly opposite my home. They set up in the living room and moved my couch. A crack marksman stood at the wide-open window, his foot planted on a chair, she said. A second snatter joined the first a little, and for a brief moment the shutters opened on the opposite window, but quickly closed. He shouted out, it is useless trying to hide. Police then dashed down the door at number 1 and checked the neighboring buildings, but the suspect had slipped away. Ever since Reddy Bigle was a boy, he dreamt of discovering hidden ruins. Born in Mapiri,
130千米 80
miles north of La Paz, in Bolivia, he was the only person from his small town to study archaeology. My goal was to work in the villages, visit their archaeological sites, and work in them, he says. Now, years later, his dream has become reality. Mr. Bigle is in charge of tourism and culture in the town of Tiwanaku. Tiwanaku lies on the shore of Lake Titicaca, which covers more than
500
sq miles, and creates a natural border between Peru and Bolivia. It was just 5 minutes from here that the submerged remains of an ancient civilization was found 10 years ago. Following information provided by local people, archaeologist Christophe Dallier of the University of Belgium located 24 submerged archaeological sites in the lake. Its waters. The most important site is in Santiago de Oyalaya, and it is here that the Bolivian government is planning to build an underwater museum to preserve both the submerged archaeological structures and those on the shore. The project, estimated to cost
10美元 7.8 米
by the time it is completed in
2020,
is being financed by the Bolivian government with help from UNESCO, and has the backing of the Belgian Development Cooperation Agency. The
360-SQ-M
building will have two parts, one located on the shore, where pieces salvaged from the lake will be exhibited, and another semi-submerged part, which will allow visitors to see some of the underwater structures, dubbed Hidden City, through glass walls. José Luis Paz, Director of Heritage at Bolivia's Ministry of Culture, says that visitors will be able to see two types of underwater ruins, ones which correspond to human settlements, sites that are hugging the lake, its shoreline, and others which were the sites of spiritual offerings. Mr. Paz says the human settlements were probably flooded years before the spiritual sites, which were located in strategic places inside the lake. A team of Belgian and Bolivian experts and special archaeological divers has managed to locate thousands of items. We found more than
000
pieces like vessels, gold pieces, ceramic, and thanks to the investigations, it was possible to determine that they belong to Tiwanaku culture and pre-Inca civilizations. Bolivia's culture and tourism minister Wilma Alanoca says, as they are well preserved, the plan is to only raise a few and leave most of them underwater. Source: UNESCO. Some of the pieces are estimated to be
000
years old, and others date back to a time when the Tiwanaku Empire was one of the most important Andean civilizations. For Mr. Weigler and the people living in the 13 municipalities on the shores of the lake, the project to build the underwater museum offers the potential for increased tourism and thereby more work. Currently, most locals make a living from fishing or agriculture, and Minister Alanoca thinks that the museum could be key in stopping people from leaving their communities to go and work in the cities. UNESCO experts estimate that the ruins found so far only represent a tiny part of the Tiwanaku Empire. Mr. Weigler and fellow residents hope the treasure in the lake and the sight they still hope to discover may translate into more riches on the shore.